Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial of the Action RPG inventory system available on the marketplace. So the first thing you want to do when you add this to your project or migrate it is you want to go to Edit and then Project Settings here. So we need to enable an option so our outline system works. And then on the left side here, you should have rendering. So here it is, so rendering, and then you want to look for post-processing. So here it is. So you want to make sure that this custom depth stencil pass, you want to select the last option, which is enable with stencil. So once you do this, you should have the outline functioning properly. So if I hover my mouse, for example, you can see that we have an outline. So that's how you enable it. In case you don't have it enabled, or in case it's not working for you. The next thing is you want to make sure that the inputs are added to your character, of course, in case you don't have similar inputs. This is only a problem if you're going to use the third-person mode of this system. So you want to go to the character folder, then blueprint, and then you want to open the jig character. So here I have the input axes: move forward, move right, look up, turn. Spacebar is just normal spacebar. So if you're getting some warning here about this move forward, move right, so you want to do the same thing. You want to go to Edit, Project Settings, but this time you want to go to Input here, and you want to go to Axes Mapping, and you want to add the move forward, move right, look up, turn. Or if you already have similar axes, then you want to just use those. So move forward, you move with W and S. So just simple inputs, and then you want to add them here, so you're able to move in third person. So the next thing you want to do is go to your player controller. So of course, make sure you have this map open. So you go to Maps here, and then you double click the top-down example map. Now, if you have a new map or your own map, you can add, or you can go to the world settings here. If you don't see this window, you can go to window here and then world settings. So you should have this game mode section right here. So you want to make sure that you have the jig game mode here, and then for the default pawn, you want to set it to none because we're handling the spawn system ourselves. Here you want to make sure also you have the jig player controller, and of course these are by default, so you can add your own or leave them as is. So very important thing is the jig game mode and jig player controller in the game mode section. Then you want to play, of course, make sure that everything is working. You open the inventory with Tab or E, and you move around with left mouse button. You can also hold the mouse left mouse button to keep moving. You click on things, or you hover your mouse on something, you click on it, the character will move to it, and then request to pick up the item, or open the vendor, or crafting, or whatever. So you drag, so you click with your left mouse button and you drag. You can rotate the item with R. You can change the key in the inventory widget. We'll see that later. So R is how to rotate an item. You can, so let me pick another weapon. You can swap items, so you can like drop it on this axe and they will be swapped. You can equip with double click by default, and we can change that. You can also drag and drop over an item to replace it, or drag to an empty spot. To drop an item, you can just drag it here. If you have more than one, you can you'll get this window right here that asks you about how much you want to drop. So we'll drop one, and then we can pick it up. To split an item, by default you hold Control, and then if you have, of course, more than two items, it's going to ask you how much you want to split. If you have two items, it's going to do it automatically. For vendors, you can click on the vendor. You can double click to sell something. You can double click to buy as well. let's go ahead and open our player controller. So let's go ahead and open our player controller by double clicking on it, and everything happens in terms of inventory happens in your inventory component, which we should have here on left side. So if you click on it, you should have a section called settings. And here you get to select your mode, so top down, which we just tested, or first person, third person. So it is by default third person, but you can obviously add your another camera if you want, but it shouldn't be hard to do. Your player class, have 5 classes right now. This is important later on the data table. When you have an item, you can specify which classes can equip this item. You can select a cursor if you want the default cursor, you can just clear it. And then you have your credits, gold, silver, copper. The 00 is by default your credits, but you can change them if you want. Then you have the equipped mouse key. So by default is double click your left mouse button. You can change it as you can see here. Same thing for selling something to the vendor. You can also get to select the vendor sound when you sell something. Max drop distance is how far the item gets spawned when you drop it, and this is your starting items. Since we're talking about our starting items, we're going to go over to the data table. So in your starting items, you select what item ID in a specific data table. I'm going to click on this icon right here to browse directly to the data table, or you can go to inventory system right here, and you have here these data tables. So we have this crafting resources. This is what the crafting system uses. So if we double click on it, we can see that we have 10 materials. Of course, you can add more. So before we talk about the data table, let's go ahead and talk about the pickup system. So if I go to the inventory system right here, then Jigsaw, and then go to the pickup system. So we have a main pickup class. This main pickup class has a pickup component. This pickup component wants a data table and an item ID. So if we open, for example, the weapons data table, you can see that we have item ID, row name, and some other information. So this item ID is very important when it comes to pickups. So for example, if we go to one of the already made pickups, so we can go to pickups right here, and then weapons, and then for example we wanna look at the two-handed hammer. Let's go ahead and open that up. So if we go to class settings, you're gonna see that it inherits from the main pickup class, which is this one right here. If we go, so as you can see here, we have the skeletal mesh right here set to whatever mesh we want to see, and then we select the materials based on the mesh, of course, and then for the collision box, you want to change the box extent. So as you can see here, we have 60. If we change it to 30, you're gonna see that it changes. So based on the size of your item, you want to change this box extent, so collision works for the item. So the very important thing about these pickups is the pickup component. So here we have this item info sections. I will show you later how to make a new pickup, but for now, for this hammer, for example, it wants a data source, which should be our weapons data table, and then the item ID that represents this pickup. So if we go to the weapons data table, as you can see here, the ID 5 represents our hammer. So you can see here that it has the item ID, and it's very important to have the same row name when adding a new pickup. So let's go ahead and add a new weapon. I think that would be much better to explain that way. So let's say I want to add a new type of hammer, a two-handed hammer, maybe with a different color. So you could easily right click on one of these pickups and do duplicate. Yes, so you can do duplicate. So in terms of adding a new pickup, the question is it going to be a skeletal mesh or a static mesh? And I'm talking about the world, not the equipable mesh, because the equipable mesh is going to be set in your data table. So this is where you specify what skeletal mesh gets equipped to your character, but the item mesh in the world could be different. So let's say I want to make a new weapon. So you can either right click on one of these pickups and do duplicate, or you can go to the inventory system, then Jigsaw, and then pickup system, and you can either create a child out of the main pickup class if you're going to use a skeletal mesh, and in the world of course not. So let's go ahead and create a skeletal pickup. So we can right click here, create a child. Let's just drag here and do move, then go to content. So let's call this let's just call this hammer weapon, for example. So this is our new pickup, hammer. We can open it up, we can select the skeletal mesh, and maybe select a weapon. So for example this, you can obviously rotate it if you want. It's not the root component. Then select the box, and then we want to change the extent, so it matches the size of the skeletal mesh. So this could be 60, and Y could be like 20, and then this is 20 as well. So that looks about okay for now. We can move this a little bit if we want. And then compile, save. So for now this is all we need. We can change the materials. So we have like a different version if you want. I don't know, something like this, something simple. So the next step you want to do is go to the data table, one of the data tables. So you can go to the weapons data table, or you can create a new data table if you want. Since we're going to specify what data table we're going to use, it doesn't really matter where you add this pickup info. So I'm gonna add it to the this data table weapon. So I'm going to click on the plus sign right here, and you want to make sure that the ID of course doesn't exist. So we have 0, 1, 2, and then 8 to 8. So we want to take 9 as the next index, and you want to make sure that the row name here matches the item ID entered here. So we could enter 9 as well. So we have 9 here, 9 here. Next pickup would be 10, 10 here. Unique ID, this is set by the server, so we want to make sure we leave that to -1. The actor class is the blueprint that we just created, so it's hammer weapon. So let's go ahead and specify that. Very important for when you want to spawn it. So hammer weapon. So for the type is going to be a primary weapon, and then for the specific type it's going to be a hammer, for example. So we're gonna select hammer. Here we go. If you want to add more types, you can go to inventory system. You want to go to inventory system, Jigsaw, data, and then you have a secondary type right here, so you can add more if you want. Same thing for item type right here. So back to the data table, we have equipment type. This is going to be a two-handed weapon, and then here we want to specify where we can equip this item. So this item is going to be equipable to the primary slot, and then for the supported classes, we can select all classes or specify a certain class. Maybe we can select like class 2 or class 1. So for the equip to main hand, we're just going to copy the socket from here. If you have a different mesh, I'm going to show you later how to add new sockets. So so this is going to be the socket where the item is going to be equipped, and then this, I'm just gonna copy the same socket from the off hand here, and then this is the skeletal mesh that's going to be equipped to your character. So we have a hammer right here. I could duplicate this if I want. So to have like a different material. So we could select basically the same materials, something different really. Don't care about how it looks. Okay, this is good enough. So we want to equip the hammer to rarity. This is how it looks in the inventory. Like we can make it like legendary. We don't want it to stack. The image, obviously you want to select an appropriate image, but we'll just select this for now. Salt dimension, let's select like 2 by 3. Item name, just new hammer. Display name, this is the let's see, display name is this right here. You see here axe 2. So you could have a different an item name and a display name. So I'm just gonna do NH for example. Description here and how much. This is the vendor sell value. So this is when you sell it to a vendor, how much you would get. Let's get a gold and like 50 silver. Crafting, what are the resources needed to craft this item? So it's going to be 1 item obviously. Let's make it take like 7 seconds to craft. And the materials needed are going to be materials from the material data table. So inventory, and then where is the material? Here we go. So let's say we need like material 0 and material 2. Here the crafting, we want the material needed. So we're gonna add material 1, how much we need. Let's say we need 20, and then we need material 2. Make sure you don't have duplicates here. So material 2 or 3, let's take 3. You can see here the type, material 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want material 3, and we'll take like 15 from this. So to craft this hammer, we need 20 material 1 and 15 material 3. And this is, you know, you can like select certain the sounds when the item gets picked up or dropped in, or equipped in the inventory. These are for containers. I'll make a specific tutorial for containers in the future, but for now this is all we need. So if we drop the item in the world, well, obviously the next most important step is open the pickup hammer weapon that we just created. Then select the pickup component and then select the data source where we added this item. We added it to the weapons data table and with the ID 9. So you want to make sure that you enter these information right here. So weapons is the same thing, so we can select any data table. So obviously we have it under weapons, and then for the item ID it is 9. And compile, and now we can drop our hammer right here. Then if we play, you can see that it says new hammer, and we can pick it up, and it has like 2 by 3 like I said, and it can be equipped here. So as you can see, it can't be equipped anywhere else but to the primary slot, because we specified that in the data table. So double click on that, and then later on we'll add it to our crafting, this guy right here, crafting character. For equipment sockets, you want to go to your mannequin, skeletal mesh. You want to go, for example, you want to open like some animation, that would be easier. So for example, the third person idle, you want to pause the animation, and you should have a skeleton tree. So in the data table you want you need to specify where the item gets equipped to. So you see here that we have equipped to main hand and equipped to off hand. The main hand would be your right hand, so you want to select your hand _R, and you can see here that we have some sockets already available. So we have like big sword, spear, dagger. So because every mesh is different, that's why you need different sockets. So if you want to make a new socket, let's say you have a new pickup, you want to select your hand _R and then right click and then add socket. So we could say my socket or my main socket, for example. Then you want to right click on your new socket and you want to do add preview asset, and then you want to select the item or the mesh that you want to equip to that socket. For example, we want to select this dagger. And then you simply make sure you're not selecting the bone, but you're actually selecting the socket that you just added. Then you want to like rotate the socket, make sure you know it's equipped to where it needs to be, so it looks like fine, etc. So you can like hit F2 and then quickly just copy here, and then then you want to go to the data table, and that's where you want to paste the socket to your or the main hand socket, and you want to do the same thing for your offhand if the item gets equipped to the offhand. Dagger will be equipped, shield for example, even a bow. So you want to select the other hand, hand underscore L, and you want to do the same thing. Right click, add socket, and then you want to name it, for example, my off, like I don't know, something that represents your item, my off socket. Then right click, and then same thing, dagger, rotate the socket, so it's like looks good on your character, etc. Then you want to F2, select the socket, F2, copy, copy, and then you want to paste that, and your offhand, of course, if the item gets equipped to the offhand. So this is the socket. This is how you add new sockets. So that's basically the way to add new pickups. So basically you can go here to pickups right here, go for example to weapons, and just right click something and then duplicate, and then do the same thing. If you want it to be a static mesh, there are some static mesh here. For example, this is a static mesh. You can right click duplicate. So if you open it up, you can see that it has a static mesh right here, so you can select a static mesh instead of a skeleton. And the same procedure, basically pick up component where it is. This one is in armor and it has the item ID 0. If we go to armor right here, you can see that 0 is indeed this pickup right here. Alright, so since we have a new item, let's go ahead and talk about crafting. So crafting, you want to go to inventory system, then crafting, then blueprint, and then you have these guys right here. So we have crafting, this is the main class, and these are child of this class. So this is armor, this is weapon. So these are the this is one of them is weapon, the other is the armor. If we open, for example, the armor and open full blueprint editor, of course you can customize the look of this character if you want, but the most important thing is this crafting widget component, and basically has the same logic in terms of data tables. So if you want to specify the items that this character can let you craft, you need to add them to this available craft items by clicking on the plus sign here. Then you select what item you want it to craft. So for example, I wanted to craft the item 0 from armor, and then you can set a custom image if you want. So let's go ahead and create a new character. So you can right click on this 0 BP crafting main, create a child, and let's just call it new crafting dude. So we can like put him here, double click on this guy, go to the class default, look for the settings, see if we have some, yeah. So we have character name, we can like crafting, I misspelled that, crafting, I don't know, something, this would be the name of this character. And then we have this, set the crafting widget component, and then let's click on here, clear everything. So let's make him only craft the hammer that we have. So click on a plus sign here, we're going to select the item 9, which is the new hammer that we just created, and then we'll select the weapons. And if we play right now, we can go to this guy, and as you can see, he has a hammer, and as you can see, it's grayed out because we don't have the materials. This is what you need, and this is how much you have. We have 0, but we need 20 and 15, and these two materials are taken from the data table. If you remember, we added 1 and 3. So let's go ahead and pick up some materials here. And by the way, you can drag and you can specify the count of an item. For example, I can go to pickups and then let's see, crafting resources. So material like 2 or 4, I can drop it here, then go to the details panel, and we have a variable called new count. So we could say 999 for example, and now if you play, you should have material file with 999. So picking up these materials, we have 65, 50, and 35. So we should be able to craft that hammer. So if we click on it, craft, and it's added right here, you can't interact with it because it's being crafted. So we'll wait like the 7 seconds we specified, if you remember, and it should update our material available. So since we crafted one, we spent about 20 material. One we had 40, I believe. So now we can't craft another one, but we crafted our item. This is the NH, if you remember the display name, so you can double click on it, should be equipped to your character. So that's crafting, basically. So you can, like you saw, create a child and add the craftable items that you want to add to your character. So click on crafting widget component and add as many craftable items as you want. So all you need to do is just specify the item ID found in the data table and where or in what data table can it be found, and of course custom image. Let's go ahead and clear this, compile, and just go ahead and remove this dude. For the vendors, it's pretty much the same thing, except that you do it in the world. So it's one character. Let's go ahead and find this character. So that should be an inventory system, Jigsaw, and then vendor. So this is our vendor. It's one blueprint. You can drag it in the world. And when you drag it to the world, you can select it. Obviously, it's already selected. Just hit escape, and they select him, this character. And then you want to go to the details panel. If you don't see the details panel, you can go to window here, and then details. So details, you can like select your details panel. You want to go to settings right here. You can set the vendor name, and then vendor items. So you want to click on the plus sign. So let's add something. You want to expand this. You want to set the item ID once again, same logic basically. So 9 for example for our hammer. And what data table? This 9, I added it to the weapons data table. And then of course a custom image if you want, but most important thing is the price. So expand the price, and let's say this costs about 20 gold and 1 copper, why not? So now if we play, go to this vendor, you can see that he sells the new hammer costing 20. You can buy it by double clicking, but we don't have 20 gold. But that's just an example. So that's the way to add items to this vendor. So you can add as many items as you want. Just make sure you specify the right ID and the right data table. So the same thing as well for containers. These world containers are accessible by multiple players. So for example, you have 2 players interacting with it at the same time. There is absolutely no problems. They can both take whatever items and add whatever items they want to the container, and there should be absolutely no problems. This container right here, it should be under inventory system, I think Jigsaw, and then pickup system, and we should have an MP containers right here, and this is the item or the actor. So you can drag it right here. Of course you can like if you want, you can right click, create a child, and then like I don't know, change the look for example, change the static mesh, and I don't know, like get blue, and then we will drag it to the world. And then you want to select the container, and you want to go to the container name, or you can actually set these values inside of the blueprint if you want. You should have the same thing here, class default. You should have like container name, number of column rows of the widget. So if you want to, I don't know, generate items at runtime or random items, you could do it here in the blueprint, or you can do it after you add it to the world. So you select the container, some container as the container name. So let's see, container. Number of row and number of columns represents the size of the inventory. So let's say 5 by 5. Then the container items, it's the same like steps. Basically, what items you want, just make it have our hammer. So 9, count, 1, and then data table is going to be weapons. And then maybe we could add some materials. Why not? I don't know. I guess I'll just guess. So I could have item ID 5, for example, count like 99. Data table materials. Materials there. No, not material. Actually, crafting resources as the name of the data table. Rotated, we don't want it rotated. You could enable that if you want. So if we open or play, you can see that we have our item and we have 99 of material 6. We can drag it here, drag it back here. So that is world containers. So let's talk about random spawn. There's an actor here that I made. If you go to other blueprints, then random spawner, you should have a random spawner. So it's the same thing. You could just drag it here and then access the settings right here, and then add all the items that you want to randomly spawn. So one item will be chosen at random, but you could also like right click, create child, then double click on it, go to class default, and then look for the settings here. So let's make this spawn some materials. So if you click it on the plus sign right here, so we'll just select material 1, min count. This is going to be at random. If you don't want it to be at random, for example, you want it to always spawn 30, so you do min 30 and max 30. But if you want it to be random, you could do like 1 to 99, for example. We could like right click here, copy, right click here, paste, and then just change the material here. So material 2, same thing here, paste, material 3, and then we'll do it through 5 materials. So here, same thing, paste, and then paste here. So what's this? This is 3, so this should be 4, and then this could be 5. All right. So now we can because we set these variables in the blueprint, we can just drag it here. It should have them by default already filled in. So here we should have a random material spawned, and here it is. So it's spawned material 2 with 60. If we play again, it's spawned material 1 with 95. So that's how you add like some random item spawn. You can do the same thing for like let's say an AI. So you're fighting some AI and you want it to spawn something at random. When it dies, you could just make it spawn one of these and it should work just fine. So for the saving system, it's basically straightforward. The way I have it here is by pressing a key. So if I go to the player controller, your save and load is done by the input K and then L. So obviously you can like call these from a menu or some widget. But what it does essentially is it basically just calls, it uses the inventory component and then call like save game, and then you can like select a slot, for example, I don't know, slot 1, and then you can call load game, load content, I think it's load game, and this basically you want to load the same thing obviously. And this will do the trick. If you want to know which game mode you're in, you could use this macro, top down or third person. You have these events right here. These will tell you if something happened, so something got equipped. If you want to know to which slot, you could like drag it in from here. You should have like all these slots, and this is the item info. You could like break it. So break item info. You should have like all the info about the item that just got equipped or unequipped, etc. So for example, if you want to get the stats, you have the item stuff right here. So break as well, or like get, you could do it for each if you want. and then break, and then you have like stat type and value. These stats can be added in the data table. So for example, weapon, let's add some stats to our new hammer. So you want to go to item stats, and let's say you want to add stat 1. So stat 1, this is just a name. You could change it for string or dexterity or intelligence, etc. So it says stat 1 we have like 95, and then stat 2 we have like 15. So pick up our hammer, and then if we hover, you can see there stat 1 is 95, stat, well, maybe we should change the type here, so stat 2. Then picking up the hammer, we should have like stat 1 95, stat 2 15. And then when you pick up the item, for example, go into the player controller, you can get the when the item gets equipped, you can get the stats if you want. Now of course I will do other tutorials about specific things, such as maybe consuming an item, but if you want to consume something in your inventory, you could use this. So double click here on request consume an item. Then you can, to get an item or check if you have something in your inventory, you could use this. So you get the main inventory or container reference, and then you get all the items by type or by specific type. And then if you found something, you can get like the first one and get the unique ID, and then request that you want to use that item, and it should be consumed automatically, and you should be notified when it's consumed thanks to this event right here. So item consumed, here you go. So I think that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Of course I will be making more, so make sure you subscribe. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, or email me, send me an email, and I will make sure to respond as quickly as possible. I will be doing a Discord channel, so check out the description and see if there's a link for that. And of course, don't hesitate to contact me if you need further help. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Goodbye.